Good evening, I'm Pedro Hazel Jr.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
Welcome to another edition of Sportslines Plus. Tonight we'll be discussing the NBA Finals, NHL Finals, the Los Angeles Lakers, Mets, and Yankees, and more. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. The internet address is youtube.com/@Sportslines Plus. Again, it's youtube.com/@Sportslines Plus. The NBA Finals have come down to this. Game 7 tomorrow night. The Indiana Pacers and the Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma City. The series is tied at 3 games apiece. This has been an incredible series, hasn't it been,
This
Steve?
has been an incredible series for a lot of reasons. Number one, I don't think anybody in their right mind thought that this series is going 7 games.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, nobody thought Indiana was going to be in the finals, except maybe the fans in Indiana.
Yeah.
This has been a really interesting series because the Oklahoma City Thunder were the heavy favorites.
Yeah.
They had won 68 games this year.
Yes.
They have been the top team in the NBA all season long.
Yeah.
But I have been really surprised at Indiana. This team is the most resilient, probably the most gritty team I've ever seen
definitely,
in an NBA
definitely
final.
gritty.
They are physical, they are tough, they are fast, they can shoot, and what they do better than every team in the NBA, all of their players, I'm talking 1 through 12, probably do more things on the court than any other team in the league.
Yeah.
You're looking at a team that every game you have no idea who's going to be the star player.
Yeah.
It could be Halliburton, it could be Siakam, it could be Turner, it could be Nesmith, it could be Nemhard, it could be anybody. Obi Toppin. Remember that name, guys?
Yeah.
This guy has shot so well in this NBA final. He's been the star of the team, shooting 2 of the 7 games. We're talking about a team that is the best description of the word team of any team I've seen this year.
Yeah.
Most teams rely on 1 or 2, 3 players similar to Oklahoma City, who has the amazing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, better known as SGA. They do have 2 other star players, Jalen Williams, who's terrific as a power forward, and they have a young center who I think needs to put on some more strength and weight, but has great ability in Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
But what Indiana has done is defy all odds.
Oh, yeah.
Every game in this series, they have physically beaten up the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
They have beaten them up. They have scored on them. They have defended better. They have done everything possible to upset the way this team plays, and it's worked.
Yes. Nobody takes them seriously.
No.
Nobody took Indiana seriously.
No.
Nobody.
But I think we're learning in the NBA you can win with the concept of team.
Yes.
And we're talking not about 4 or 5 players. We're talking the entire team, all of them. There's
12.
not one player on that team who can't do something.
Yeah.
Even the 11-12 guy, Bryant, he's been with a few teams, including the Washington Wizards. This guy, you bring him in, I'll tell you what he did to the Knicks. He carved us up in Game 6, hitting threes from everywhere.
Yeah.
This team, you don't know who to guard
That's
they're all good.
Yes.
And the relentless hustle of this team, their effort and their physicality is astounding.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, Game 7. Now, I know a lot of people would say, Game 7, Oklahoma City's at home, they're going to win.
No.
I am not saying that, and it's taken me a long time to say this.
There's no guarantee here.
I'm going to tell you the reason I don't think it's going to happen that way started with Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
When those Oklahoma City fans were standing up, screaming the entire game, OKC, OKC. I heard that all night long on my set, and I said, look what's happening. They had a 15-point lead on the Indiana Pacers Game 1, and they didn't win.
Yeah.
And they silenced that crowd. When that game was over, you didn't hear a word out of that crowd.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, Indiana doesn't care where they're playing.
That's
Look
right.
what they did to the Knicks.
Yeah.
They beat us Game 1. You can say miracle shots, Halliburton, yes. You can say defensively the Knicks fell apart in the last 10 minutes of the game. Fine.
Last 4 or 5.
But
really.
They beat us twice at our building.
Yes.
So they're not scared of anybody.
No.
They don't care where they're playing, and their style works.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, yes, this should be a great game tomorrow night, but I think Indiana's going to win it all.
Yes.
Because they have two things. This team, the Indiana Pacers, has never won a championship.
That's right.
In 50 years.
Mhm.
Knicks fans, we can relate. It's for us, it's 53.
Yeah.
For them, it's 50. Yes,
52. But
yes, 52. But they did get to 2 or 3 ABA finals.
Yes,
and
they
they
won.
won them.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a team that has never won a championship in the NBA.
Yeah.
But then again, Oklahoma City hasn't done it either.
Yeah.
So
well, they did as the Seattle Supersonics.
that's true. Good point. But look how many years ago we're talking about.
Yeah, 79.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So here we have two teams that haven't won a title in, it's, as I like to say, God knows how long.
Yeah.
But I think the grittiness and the heart that this Indiana team has, as much as it pains me as a Knicks fan to say it,
Yeah.
I think it is time for the Pacers to win it all.
Yeah.
I think this is the year of the Pacers.
Yes, indeed.
This team with the yellow mustard uniforms that almost make you want to throw up when you look at them. This team is talented,
Yeah.
tough, and they want it badly.
They won it all. They got it.
Want
They
it
got
more
it together.
than any other team I've seen in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
So I would say right now, close game, Indiana wins.
Okay. Moving on to the Knicks, they still have not found a replacement for Tom Thibodeau, whom they fired back on June 3rd. What is taking them so long?
I
Steve?
think, interestingly, we all had assumed Mike Malone was going to be the next head coach of the Knicks.
Yeah.
And that included me. But what the Knicks did is actually not a bad way of doing it. What they did, they went to every coach that was successful in the NBA,
Yeah.
and they asked their front office, can we talk to them?
Yeah.
Now, we understand most of those teams refused to do that.
Yeah.
They did try to talk to Budenholzer. They tried to talk to Udoka. They tried to talk to Billy Donovan. It didn't matter which coach it was. They were turned down by every coach. But I think they may be getting closer to finding a coach.
You mentioned Jason Kidd.
Yes.
And why?
Jason Kidd is a very interesting story, and I'll tell you why I think he would be a very good choice for the Knicks.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd was a phenomenal NBA point guard.
Definitely.
We know
Remember that.
Definitely a top 3 or 5 in the history of the game.
Yeah.
An incredible passer, a great stealer of the ball, a great defender, a pretty good rebounder for his size. He did it all. I think, first of all, for Brunson, who he had as a player under him in Dallas, he knows how to work with Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
And I think what he will do with this team, if he gets the job, he will probably play Brunson a little less, maybe 10 minutes less. Why? Because maybe they can get some defensive help from him if he's not exhausted.
Yeah.
And that was one of the problems we had with
That's
Thibodeau.
right. Yeah.
He pushed these players to the edge and beyond. So they had nothing left to play defense.
Yeah.
Now, he may never be the best defender in the league, Brunson, but I think if he's off the court for 10 minutes and he's asked to concentrate on defending, he can do it.
Yeah.
He's probably the best point guard the Knicks have had since Walt Frazier. And I know that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
But you watch him and you know why I'm saying it.
Of course.
And I think the other thing is Jason Kidd has had the experience of playing in the metropolitan area.
Yes, of course, with the Nets and then with the Knicks toward the end of his career.
And we're forgetting how good he was in 2015.
Yeah.
That was his last season. But if you remember, Pedro, the first half of that year, there was nobody in the league better at point guard than Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
I think his experience as a coach, he's coached for 9 years now. He didn't have a good record when he first started. But look at his record now. He's over 500 as a head coach. He took the Dallas Mavericks to the finals.
Yeah.
They hadn't been there since the early 2000s when they had Dirk Nowitzki. Remember that name, guys?
Yes.
So I'm telling you, this guy might be the right personality.
Yes,
He's in his
indeed.
early 50s. He's not a screamer and yeller. He's a composed guy. He understands the game well. And I think he'll get a lot more out of Jalen Brunson on the defensive side, which is frankly where we need him to be, as good an offensive player as he is.
Good.
I have some thoughts about what we can do with the lineup of the team also. The first thing I would tell you is there have been some rumors, and they may not be rumors. They may actually this may happen. The Toronto Raptors have been talking with the Knicks, and the Knicks have been listening. There's a possibility we may be able to get Quigley and Barrett back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you who remember Quigley, he would really help this defense.
I remember.
This guy can fly up and down the court.
Yeah.
He's a great shooter. He plays defense, and he's fast.
Yeah.
Barrett is not quite as good a defender as that,
Yeah.
but what he would do, maybe to give Towns 10 minutes off the court. Let him play. He's a scorer. Barrett has become a better scorer since he left the Knicks.
Yeah.
He now averages 23.3 points a game since he left the Knicks.
Yeah.
Now, I could see him being a guy who would play 25 minutes and help the Knicks offensively and rebounding-wise. He's not as good at he's not a great defender, but he does rebound the ball very well, and he can score. So if you added these guys and possibly put them on the bench to play, and you get another player or two to help them on that bench, the Knicks would have a much stronger team.
Yeah.
And these guys are in their 20s. They're young. They haven't been close to winning anything. The Knicks have. So I think they would help.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
And I think Kidd, with his defensive knowledge of the game, would be able to help both of them become better defenders.
Right.
There's one other player I've heard about that I think the Knicks should take a look at. The guy's last name is Alvarez. He plays for the Pelicans.
Okay.
He is a top-notch defender as a guard. He's not a great scorer, but he can play defense like nobody's business.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen this guy against the Knicks. He has hurt the Knicks defensively. He can rebound the ball. He gets a ton of steals. Wouldn't you guys like to have someone like that on your bench?
Indeed.
So we would then have 3 guards on our team. One who's a phenomenal scorer in Brunson. You'd have Quigley, who is as quick as anybody in the NBA, is another great scorer and plays defense. And you have Alvarez, who focuses on defense first.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of guys the Knicks should look at getting. And I just thought of one other player who might be able to help the Knicks. Even though he's older, think about getting Russell Westbrook on your bench.
Who?
Russell Westbrook.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember.
Now, Russell Westbrook, we're talking about the
name.
guy in Houston who used to have all the triple-doubles back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what he is.
Mm-hmm.
He is a scrapper. He's a hustler. He's gutsy. He'll get in your face.
Yeah.
We need some toughness like that.
Yes, we do. Yes.
I think the Knicks can get this guy on our bench this year.
Mm.
So think about what we've done now. That's 4 new players I've gotten you like that.
Yeah. What about the cap? What about the cap?
That might be the one question. We have to see what our cap space is.
Yes, that's the
But
thing.
I think these are guys that I know are scrappy and hungry, particularly Quigley and Barrett, the younger guys. Yeah. Alvarez is a hustler, and there's no question that Westbrook is.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think we need players like that on our bench.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think Kidd, being a younger guy than Thibodeau in his early 50s, would know how to motivate this team more.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think he would be a very good choice as the head coach for the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they'll be able to get him, but I'm pretty sure the Knicks are going to try again.
Yeah.
To see if they can get an interview with this guy.
Anyway, going to the Lakers. The Lakers have been sold. The Buss family, who is the majority owner of the team, have sold their majority share to Mark Walter, owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. The sale is supposed to be a record $10 billion, the most ever for a sports franchise. Wow. Jeannie Buss will retain her role as governor of the team. The Buss family bought the Lakers in 1979 from Jack Kent Cooke for $67.5 million. And you should know that name because he was the former owner of the Redskins / Commanders.
That's right. I do know the name. I didn't know the connection was with the Lakers also. Let me tell you, for those of you who don't know Jack Kent Cooke, he was one of the best owners of an NFL franchise that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
When he was in charge of the Redskins, before they became the Commanders, his teams were phenomenal.
Yes, I remember.
And he was energetic and positive and really got them going.
Yeah.
I remember him with the fedora hat and the cigar. He's a great guy, marvelous owner. Now, here's what I'll tell you about what I think the Lakers are going to be. I think the Lakers first of all, Jeannie Buss gave up ownership of the team for the most part.
Yeah.
She's been with the organization since 1979.
Yeah, when her father bought the
When her
team.
father, Jerry Buss, bought the team.
Yeah.
Now, they got 11 championships with the Buss family.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal what they've done.
Yes.
They are only second to the Celtics in championships altogether in their history.
Yeah.
I see this team going through a transition, though. I think there will be a slow but gradual metamorphosis.
Yeah.
And that will be partly because of LeBron James.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do with him. His contract is going to be up on June 29th.
Yeah.
Now the question is, does the new owner want to retain him for another year or two as they go through the transition?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the new guy, as right now I can see running that team, will be Luka Doncic.
Yes.
A phenomenal offensive player, no question. But can the Lakers build around him?
Yeah.
They would have to build with defense around this guy.
Yeah.
He is a phenomenal offensive player. He is big and strong, 6'9", can do everything on the court as an offensive player. But defensively, in my opinion, he might be one of the worst defenders in the NBA right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Lakers are willing to do it, they can either do two things. They can say to LeBron, go on the market and see what you can get.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to sign you. We want to see what you can get on the open market.
Mm-hmm.
If they decide to bring him back for another year or two, then maybe LeBron, and I just thought of this, may get involved with the front office and Jeannie Buss and the owner and say, here's what I think we need to do as a group.
Yeah.
I will help you in the transition.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they will say to him, what would you expect us to do?
Yeah.
And I think they have to start with their defense as a team.
Yeah.
They have to get a couple of players who are fairly good offensively so they can play with LeBron and play with Luka if LeBron stays.
Yeah.
But they definitely have to get their defense straightened out to be a championship caliber team.
Yes.
This will be a very interesting move to see what's going on because the Boston Celtics are also starting to go through a transition
that's
as well.
True. Yeah.
So we're looking at maybe two of the best franchises.
Two of the greatest franchises
in the NBA that are probably going through some very interesting changes very soon.
Yeah.
Which gives, guess who? The Knicks a chance to step up and finally win a championship. Let's go.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
Getting your chance now. You got to get it done soon.
Yes.
The window is closing.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah. On to hockey. The NHL Finals ended Tuesday as the Florida Panthers beat up on the Edmonton Oilers in Florida 5-1, winning the series 4-2. This is the second year in a row the Panthers have beaten the Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals. This makes 32 years that a Canadian team has not won a Stanley Cup. Incredible.
This is the most incredible team in the NHL I've seen in the last, I don't know how many years, since maybe 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
This team is a totally complete team.
Yes,
they play
indeed.
Incredible defense.
My God.
They really know how to play defense. They smack guys against the boards. They are physical. They are tough. They have a goaltender who I think is a stone wall in the nets, Bobrovsky. This guy is extremely hard to beat. He's an excellent goaltender, very tall goal. I think he's 6'5", and built like a stone wall.
Yeah.
And you have to really work to beat this guy.
Yes, indeed.
But I think there are a couple of things I see here. First of all, the NHL, it's so shameful that not one Canadian team since 1993, that was the Montreal Canadiens, have won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
The next question I have is, how is it that these Florida teams, not just the Panthers, but every Florida team has won the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 4 of the last 6 years. A Florida team has won a Stanley Cup. Go figure. Florida, warm weather state, winning a Stanley Cup in a cold weather sport.
Right.
Go figure.
And I'm guessing that a lot of these people in Florida don't have the same enthusiasm for hockey as they would in the North.
Yeah.
As the Jersey fans, the Ranger and Islander fans have. But there's something about the Florida in general. Now, it could be the taxes. They don't have to pay them.
No state income tax.
No state income tax. God, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
But they
wish we all had that,
yes,
but go ahead.
But they have the phenomenal weather. Maybe that's what draws some of these guys to
Oh
come
yeah,
down there.
sun and fun. You know.
Sun and fun. They have families. A lot of these guys. They're in a beautiful climate every day. They have all the sun they could use, but not only that, how do they develop their teams to be this good, this quick?
Yeah.
And Florida right now looks like a dynasty.
Yes, it does.
And I didn't think I would say that, but here we are now, 2 years in a row. They've beaten the
2 years out of the last 3.
Right, and they've beaten Edmonton, who's been to the finals 2 years in a row, beaten by the same team.
Yeah.
So now you have to start thinking, what is going on in the NHL?
Yeah.
How is all this talent getting down to Florida?
Yeah.
What do these other teams in the NHL have to do to win a cup?
I know.
So congratulations to the Florida Panthers.
Congratulations.
You guys
yeah.
are the top dogs, and you may be there for a while.
Indeed. Indeed. What's happened going to baseball? What's happened to the Mets lately? On Friday, June 13th, they had the best record in baseball at 45-24. 5.5 games up on the second-place Phillies. As of tonight, they trail them by 1 game after a horrendous 10-2 loss in Philadelphia last night. Including last night, they have lost 7 in a row, swept by the Tampa Bay Rays at Citi Field last weekend, and to the Braves earlier this week in Atlanta. The Phillies and Mets play tonight on Fox and on ESPN tomorrow night and host the Braves Monday for a 3-game set.
Oh, first of all, do you see what I'm doing here? I'm scratching my head.
Figuring this whole thing out.
And here's why I'm scratching my head. I don't know what's happened to the New York Mets the last 7 games. What I can tell you, ironically, we've been talking about Florida the last few minutes. This all started with the Tampa Bay Rays, who came in here last Saturday and
last weekend,
pretty much, and I'm going to say it, whipped our asses.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did to us.
Yeah.
They came in hot. We were fairly hot. We won 6 in a row. When they came in here, the example of baseball disappeared from New York. They were the most horrible team for that weekend they could have been.
Yeah.
And they have been terrible the last 7 games. This is a team, the New York Mets, who had great pitching to start the season, who was a fundamentally sound team most of the season, whose bullpen had been pretty good most of the year, and it's all blown up in the last week.
Yeah.
And the sad part is, it started with the Tampa Bay Rays, and we have to give them credit.
Yes.
They are 1 game behind the New York Yankees, so they're to be taken very seriously. They are a very good team. Maybe the Mets underestimated them, and that could have been part of the problem.
Yeah.
But what happened to them against the Braves?
I mean, totally. I mean, they, whether it's Turner Field or Truist Park, they just can't seem to win there.
We're talking about a period since 1998 that the Mets have gotten destroyed in Atlanta. They can beat them occasionally, and I'm saying occasionally in New York, but you can forget Atlanta.
Though they did win that 1 game they needed to win last year.
That's what I was going to say. The 1 game the Mets didn't have to win last year, they won in Atlanta, September 30th, 2024. And
they won that on the skin of their teeth.
Yes. Maybe my favorite day as a Met fan the whole season.
Yeah.
And they barely won that game, 7-6, I believe, or 8-7.
8-7.
8-7. And let me tell you, for those of you who remember that game, that was one of the wildest games I've ever seen to end the season. The Mets had a 4-run lead in that game going to the bottom of the 8th. And Edwin Diaz made a misplay on a ball that was hit on the ground between he and Pete Alonso at first base.
Yeah.
That opened the floodgates. All of a sudden, here comes Atlanta. They got 4 runs off Edwin Diaz in the 8th inning.
And it was 7-6.
Yes.
And then
7-6 Atlanta.
Atlanta, rather.
Right.
Yeah, I meant to say that.
That's
and then Lindor hits that 2-run home run.
And then the miracle of the New York Mets of that season came up to hit.
Yeah.
Francisco Lindor, who saved the Mets season with a home run off one of their better relievers. And they bombed their ace reliever, Raisel Iglesias, got him out of the game, and got to this guy, Johnson, who's got one of the best curveballs in baseball out of the bullpen. Lindor homered off this guy. The Mets actually took the lead, and they left Diaz in, even though he gave up 4 runs. He got the save. Can you believe that?
Yeah, he actually got the win.
He got the win. Let me tell you, That's a rare occurrence for the Mets.
Yes.
That's one you'll always remember because they cannot win in Atlanta at all.
Yeah. So
and that series was a complete disaster for them.
yeah.
They were
So
beaten by 3 of their best pitchers.
yeah.
Schwellenbach, who is a young pitcher in his second year, is one of the best starters in the major leagues.
Yes.
He wiped the Mets out. The first game, Chris Sale, the old veteran, 36 years of age. Yeah, that one, the one he used to play for Boston, all the injuries.
Right.
Last year, 18-3.
Yes.
Won the Cy Young last year at 36. He's probably going to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And then the day after that, they were beaten by the next future superstar pitcher, Strider.
Yeah.
So they were embarrassed in that series.
Yes, indeed.
And last night, give you an example of how bad they have been, they actually tied the game with the Phillies. They were trailing 2-0 going into, I believe, the 5th inning. They got back-to-back home runs from Alonso and McNeil to tie the game. But that was the end of their offense.
Yeah.
They were dead the rest of the night.
Yeah.
They got crushed 10-2.
Yeah.
And there's a reliever on that team that I really would like to see the Mets get rid of. And I understand you're going to tell me the statistics are great. They are good. But the guy who does not come through for this team out of the bullpen is Reed Garrett. They've got to get him out of there.
Yeah.
Because here's what he's been doing lately. The last game he pitched before that was against Atlanta.
Try to keep it,
Yeah. He came into the game. He got 2 outs in a bases-loaded spot. He's facing the big bear, Ozuna.
Yeah.
This guy crushed the ball down the left field line because he and Alvarez, our catcher, couldn't decide what pitch to throw.
Yeah.
He always has a way of blowing games for the Mets, and he's done it a lot this year. Something to think about, Mr. Stearns. Maybe you should get rid of him and get us a better 8th inning guy.
Right.
Because he's not the answer.
Well, anyway, like I said, the Mets have they still have a very rough period. Like I said, they have the Phillies tonight.
Yep.
And tomorrow night on ESPN, and then they've hosted the Braves
for 4 games.
Yes.
This could be a death knell for the New York Mets season if they lose every game in the series.
Well,
both of them.
we're hoping so. We're hoping not.
We're hoping not.
Right.
Now, what I'm hoping as a Mets fan is that we win either tonight or tomorrow to save face. Yeah. Because if we're coming back to New York and having lost 9 games in a row, the Atlanta Braves are going to crush us.
Yes.
So we have to watch this part of the season. It's early. If you're going to have this happen to you, it's better it happens in June than in August and September. Met fans know what that feels like.
Yes.
But we have got to get better defensively. We've got to start hitting again, and we have to play better defense. And it's got to start in the beginning of the game, not the 6th, 7th inning. Why don't you jump on the opponent in the early part of the game and get the lead and stomp on them as you should?
Right. That's right.
That's what we need to do.
Yes.
Let's go, Mets.
As for the Yankees, they shut out the Orioles 9-0 at the stadium today. Only their second win in their last 8 games. They had a 5-game losing streak until they beat the Angels 7-3 on Thursday night at the stadium. Their lead has gone from 4.5 to 1 games over the Tampa Bay Rays. They travel to Cincinnati for a 3-game set with the Reds after this series against the Orioles. What's going on with the Yankees?
The Yankees are going through a transition similar to the Mets. They've had injuries to their pitching staff. They're trying to figure out what to do. They were saved today in their game by Clark Schmidt, who had an excellent outing, 7 no-hit innings against the Orioles, as good as he's pitched in his career so far. But what's happened to the Yankees is their pitching has been injured.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys, they have, first of all, they've lost Cole for the entire year, Garrett Cole.
Of course.
Max Fried has saved them by being the ace of the staff this year. Clark Schmidt has stepped up, and he's pitched better. But they still don't have Luis Gil. They still don't have Marcus Stroman. They're missing pitchers in the rotation. That's one problem. Secondly, their lineup is very unique. You have guys who can hit home runs like Stanton and Judge, but there's a lot of emptiness in the middle of that lineup.
Yeah.
Anthony Volpe may never wind up being the hitter they think he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's right now, as of today, he's hitting .230. Mm-hmm. And his defense has not been very good, which is something he needs to get better at.
Yeah.
This team is kind of a disjointed team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say fractured, but very disjointed.
Mm.
You know, you got Goldschmidt, who's having a great year for them. He's hitting a little over 300. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, LeMahieu has been very good with all the injuries he's had. Stanton is now back. But you've got a manager who I don't think knows how to use this team.
Interesting. And he's been there a long time.
And their closer spot is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They just got back yesterday, Luke Weaver.
Okay.
Now, Luke Weaver was the closer on this team before they acquired Devin Williams in the offseason. The problem now is I don't know if this manager knows how to use both of these guys.
Interesting.
And they have to figure it out. Is Devin Williams now the new closer, which he was at the beginning of the year? He lost his job to Luke Weaver. Or are you going to put Luke Weaver back in the closer spot and have Devin Williams set up for him? Or are you going to mix and match them depending on the lineups you're facing?
That's
now,
interesting.
I think that's another issue for the Yankees. Luke Weaver is going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
Devin Williams has a one-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
They have to now decide whether you're going to put him out there and see if he can close, because a lot of what he does this year will affect him going forward. Will the Yankees bring him back if he pitches well? Would they decide to say goodbye to Luke Weaver and put him in the closer spot?
Yeah.
Or are they going to try to mix match these guys?
Yeah.
And that could be a problem because when you have a good bullpen, sometimes if you have two guys who are of equal value, that messes things up for the manager.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know who to use.
Interesting. Well, that's interesting. Agree with the Yankees. Yeah.
I mean, the Yankees are still a very good team, but I think what's happening to them, the other thing, these teams in their division are better than they thought.
The Rays, the Jays, and even the Red Sox.
And even the Reds and the Orioles. Let me tell you what, the Orioles may have lost today, but with the new manager they've had, they are 16-9 since this manager got here. So they are 11 games out, but it's early in the season, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Orioles turn some of this around. I don't know if they can get to the top, but they're going to have an impact in the division. And Toronto, which we always think is going to win, they are pretty close to the top now.
Yeah.
And the Rays, the most surprising team of all of them, is one game behind. And they are scoring runs. They have been averaging, by the way, 6 runs a game.
Wow.
What they did to the New York Mets, they're doing it to everybody. They are serious. They have players that you and I don't know, but they're good.
Yeah.
They don't even have their ace pitcher, Shane McClanahan. They're doing it with guys like Drew Rasmussen and Pepio, who they got from the Dodgers a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They do it with all like mirrors. They just add pieces. Next thing you know, they're contending.
Yeah.
And I have news for the Yankees. You better hope you're not playing Tampa Bay soon, because they are ready to kick your behind now.
And that does it for another edition of Sportslines Plus. For Steve Ferguson, I'm Pedro Hazel Jr. saying thanks for joining us. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. The internet address is youtube.com/@Sportslines Plus. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend, guys.